Would you believe that I've owned this scooter for 3 years and today is the first day that I'm actually going to ride this for the first time? This is the Segway Ninebot G30LP. I originally bought it so that my wife could ride this while I'm riding around on my electric skateboard. Unfortunately, that never really became a thing that we did together, so it kind of just sat around in storage. I didn't even upkeep the battery. I'm sure this has some level of battery degradation. It's even got a nifty phone mount built into it for me to store my phone, because thing about these e-scooters, you have to pair it to an app, or at least this one does. And if you're not connected to the app, it severely limits the speed and functionality of it. Not only is this my first time riding this scooter, this is my first time riding any electric scooter. Not getting any juice out of it. I think it's because I had the start speed set up too high. I didn't understand what that was. I had it cranked up to 5 kilometers an hour. And I think that means that the scooter has to be rolling that fast before the throttle kicks in. So I cranked that all the way down to 1, and in theory, this should now work. All right, good to know I don't have a busted scooter. It's telling me I got a range of 40 kilometers on a full charge. Not someone of my weight. I'm 240 pounds. My personal guess is we're going to wind up with about 15 kilometers on this thing today. Now, it is rather cold outside. It's about 0 degrees. However, this was kept inside, and I think we'll burn through the range on this thing before the cold has a chance to affect the battery, unlike my e-bike. This thing's only got a 350 watt motor, so it doesn't have the greatest amount of torque on it. Yeah, it's definitely not an off-roader. The handlebars sit a little lower than I thought they were going to. I've got the regen braking cranked up to max, and there is a physical brake as well, so it's good to have both. So this thing's got 3 speed modes. It's got Eco, Drive, and Sport. All right, so this is Eco. Seems to be topping out at about 11, 12 kilometers an hour. Oh, no, we're up to 15. All right. We're boogieing a little bit. All right, so next up is Drive. This one seems like it's the sweet spot. It's got much more pep in its step. We're at about 20 kilometers, 21 kilometers an hour, 22, 23. Yeah, this is nice. Not too fast, especially for me, my first time on this thing. All right, next up, the sport mode test. Oh yeah, she's gunning it now. Top speed test on sport mode. We're 30, 31, 30. Not bad. For someone of my weight, top it out at 30 kilometers an hour. I'd say that's pretty good. And honestly, I wouldn't feel comfortable going any faster than that. Honestly, this thing's a lot more fun to cruise around on than I thought it was going to be. I'm evaluating it to see how it would perform as a potential backpacking and adventuring platform. And it's got a pretty limited battery, but I have a very, very fast charger for this thing, so the charging time is actually really, really small. And we'll do a charging test at the end of this just to see. Now we're doing a hill climb test, and this is where the very underpowered 350 watt motor starts to hamper us. We're back into drive mode, and we're full throttle, and we're just barely creeping up this hill here. So here is the hill that I always use for hill tests. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not expecting the scooter to make it up. I'll set it to sport mode to give it all the chances it has, but yeah, I don't think we're getting up there. Come on, scooter, you can do this. I gotta hold on with 2 hands here. Hit the hill. Come on, buddy, you can do this. You got it. Oh, oh, oh. We're slowing. We're slowing. Oh, we're still maintaining about 13 kilometers an hour. Ah, we crested it. We made it. I am actually surprised. I thought we were going to die halfway up. This is the second hill that I always test on. I know it's hard to tell the angle of the hill on the camera, but it's steeper than the first one, and yeah, we couldn't make it to the top, so it's definitely underpowered for someone of my weight. Being on the heavier side definitely has its disadvantages. when it comes to electric rideables like this, you definitely have to spend more. So we're at 76%. We're about a quarter of the way through the charge level. Let's get some more riding done. Now we've come to our first roadblock. This section of the trail does not have all of the snow and ice and stuff salted and plowed and stuff like that yet. Even on my e-bike, it's pretty sketchy to ride on this crap. So yeah, we're gonna turn around and not even attempt to continue on this way. Look at this beach. Oh man, I've had a lot of wanderlust this year about getting out into some sandy beaches and some fun summertime adventures. So what do you think? What do you want to see me do that involves some sandy beaches? Let me know. So we have hit 50% state of charge remaining on the battery. Let's find out how long we've gone on. Okay, so we have actually done 10 kilometers on half of the battery, and honestly, I am very surprised. I doubt that we're going to see another 10 kilometers on the bottom half of the battery charge, just because you know, it's out here, it's in the cold. We've been out here for longer than I thought, so I'm sure that the battery is starting to kind of cool down to ambient temperature, which will affect the range, and you never get as much range out of the bottom half of the charge that you do the top. So just as I feared, the already terrible hill climb performance for someone of my weight, as this thing gets closer to empty, it's getting a lot of voltage sag, and it can't do even the simplest of hills. As soon as you hit even the slightest incline, man, this thing just slows right down and starts chugging. All right, we're getting down there. We're down to about 23%, but there's this kind of like gravel dirt road here. Not exactly off-road, but it's about as off-road as I'd want to take that scooter. I just want to see how it performs on here. Man, this battery's almost dead. It ain't got no torque at all. All right, I think we're just gonna go up and down this stretch here. I don't know, this thing's starting to wig out as it gets closer to being empty. So we're at 6%, and the torque on this thing has just absolutely crapped the bed. So I don't know if we'll manage to get it down to 0% before it just loses any ability to move me forward. All right, so we'll call it here. It says we're at 6%, but when it's under load, it drops down to 5%. It's lost any ability to really give me meaningful torque. So for all intents and purposes, this is the real world 0. As for our range, final range numbers, we did 17.66 kilometers. So that is actually better than what I was anticipating. So I plugged in the electric scooter to do a charging test, and do keep in mind that I have an aftermarket charger for this thing. It's a 5 amp charger, so significantly faster. I decided to only do a 0 to 80% charge. Using that 5 amp charger only took an hour and 20 minutes. It actually kind of surprised me. That works out to a charging to riding cadence of about 10 kilometers riding to an hour of charging, or about 15 kilometers riding to an hour and a half charging. And the most surprising thing is that this electric scooter sat untouched, no charging, no riding, nothing, for 3 years. So I was expecting at least some kind of like battery degradation, but based on the numbers I'm seeing from that range test, there's like almost no battery capacity loss whatsoever. There's only 2 gripes that I really have about this electric scooter. The first is that the motor is only a 350 watt. It just isn't enough for getting up hills and stuff like that. As soon as I hit even a slight incline, it sinks dramatically. And the other gripe I have is that the stem, the Schrader valve for the rear wheel, is encased in the hub motor, and it's really, really hard to get my pump recessed enough into there to actually push the pin in the valve to get air into it. So I'm going to look into seeing if I can get like a Schrader valve extension or something like that. I actually think that this electric scooter might actually be okay as a light duty touring e-scooter. Now, that is to say you'd be confined to some pretty urban corridors where you have frequent charging opportunities. If you pair it with a 5 amp charger like what I have for it, it's actually not that bad. So I've basically been sleeping on this thing for the past 3 years. So this is literally my first experience with any electric scooter of any kind. I want you guys to tell me what you think. Did it surprise you at all? And what do you want to see me do with it now that I think it's actually a little bit capable?